And I rise in circumstances where all eyes are on the Malinauskas State Labor Government tomorrow ahead of the budget for the year ahead. And we know that there's something rotten in the state of South Australia so far as the massive continuing blowout of the state's debt is concerned. And we're now heading towards what will be a trifecta of front pages. I expect I can just about see the front page of the Advertiser newspaper on Friday, and that'll be going up alongside those two front pages we've seen over the last couple of years, pointing to ever-increasing state debt. And, you know, the time has come when South Australians are sick and tired of this ever-burgeoning debt, this ever-growing debt, and with no compelling plan to have that reduced, let alone the astonishing ongoing daily, weekly, monthly, annual interest burden that massive debt will take on South Australians. So that's the big picture. And Speaker, in amongst all of that, of course, over those very many pages, agency by agency, we'll be looking very closely indeed from local area to local area to see that the government is making good on election commitments to local areas throughout the state. And in my case, Speaker, that is particularly in focus for my communities in Heysen. My electors, Speaker, are looking very closely to this government to ensure that it comes good on the election commitments that it made to my communities. And I'll say some words about a few of them. Firstly, the Meadows Netball Club was on the receiving end of a state Labor government election commitment in the amount of $120,000 towards the very urgently needed resurfacing of those courts. I'll come back to that in a moment. Of course, we know that the government committed $1.5 million to improve pedestrian safety by installation of a crossing at Bridgewater. That must happen as a matter of priority. The government made much of, in fact, it coincided its announcement of an upgrade to the Heathfield High School Oval, a commitment that it costed at $1.45 million prior to the election. And that, in turn, it made much of the benefit that would flow to surrounding clubs. I've written, Speaker, to the ministers responsible for those portfolio areas, and I will acknowledge that the Minister for Sport and Recreation has responded by a letter dated the 27th of April that at least acknowledged my communication and gave assurance that the government, as of that time, was turning its attention to meeting those commitments. So, what we'll see tomorrow. The government is on notice, and it's certainly on notice from me by way of correspondence. Now, we've had a further update from the Meadows Netball Club, and in that respect, I credit to Lanice at Meadows, who's the president of the club and has been making sure that the focus is on delivery on those commitments. The Meadows Netball Club commitment is one of those that is going to require contributions from others, including local government and the club itself. And what's so important about that commitment is that we make sure that we see the state leading the way and delivering on the amount that it is promised, because that's going to be vital. So I don't want to hear any words about, oh, well, we can't do it because this and this component isn't quite squared away. The same's true of the Bridgewater pedestrian crossing. We need to make sure that that is delivered as a matter of priority, not left to languish year after year. And the government needs to respond not only to me, but the good people of activating Bridgewater, and we'll be keeping up that effort.